Welcome to another episode of the Retain podcast on the GrowthAmped channel. Our guest today is Brian Parsons. Brian is the Chief Revenue Officer at Magetics, a Dallas-based vendor-agnostic technology consulting and advisory firm that focuses on cloud, data center connectivity, UCaaS, CCaaS, security, AI, and contract negotiation. Brian, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Hey, my pleasure to have you on the show. I hope I got everything in a nutshell that you guys cover.
Nailed it. Nailed it.
All right. Perfect. Perfect. Well, uh, we've had the series going for a couple of weeks now, and I'm excited to have you as a guest on the show. And we're just going to talk a little bit about your role at Magetics.
Well, let me make it real easy for you with Magetics. So it's the Mets, the Jets, and the Knicks. You put it together, you get Magetics. And don't feel bad.
Perfect.
You're not the first one to get that one wrong.
All right. So we'd love you to share a little bit about your role as a CRO at Magetics and how that fits into the big picture. And of course, on that note, right, what does a typical day look like and your responsibilities as it goes?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really funny when I look at it. It's because it's kind of fortunately or unfortunately, I don't think there's any typical day at Magetics. You walk in and it could be you're dealing with a client that's looking at cybersecurity, or in the next call, we're talking about voice infrastructure or cloud infrastructure. And it just varies from day to day. And it's not even that, but then also everybody comes into a plan. You've got a plan to start the day. What's going to look like? What do I have to accomplish and get done? And then before lunch, that plan has gone out the window and you've got, hey, 3 escalation calls to go help vendors figure out what they're supposed to be doing. And it is all over the place, but that's partly why I love it, I think.
Hey, so what I'm seeing here is there's never a dull moment. Is that right?
This is true. If there's never a dull moment here at Magetics, I mean, it's so much so that we've got the interns in for this summer. And last night was trivia night. So we took them to a local establishment, did trivia as a team. It was a great time. Everybody got some answers right, got some wrong, unfortunately. So that's the kind of stuff we like to do when we have time to relax a little bit.
All right. And this sounds like a fun place to be. So given that, I want to know what's the day in the life of a CRO at Magetics?
Yeah, like when we think of the day of the life, really what I'm doing is I'm helping support the team in their endeavors with their clients. So I like to call it the helicopter parent. But more or less, it's helping them navigate some of the ins and outs of a very diverse technology background, right? If you look and you think and you compare it to like a typical sales role, in a general sales role, you've got your widget that sits on the box and you might be able to sell the heck out of that. You know everything about it. But for what we do and how we help our clients, we have to be what I call like an inch deep and a mile wide in a lot of different scenarios and understanding. And it's hard for people to be able to do that. So I'm there as an added resource to help them to navigate the ins and outs of all the different technology stacks that we help our clients prepare.
Awesome. And I guess being vendor agnostic gives you a lot more latitude to not give a particular vendor or a technology preferential treatment and find the best fit for your customers per their needs and exact needs, right?
No, that's very true. It's part of what we do, right? Where you look at, we take a lot of our clients' plates. And it's interesting because it's one of the things when we're dealing with different IT professionals, they come back and they say, gosh, guys, so glad y'all were here to help me. And part of that is like, one is, historically they would go out to the market, they would look, you sit down, you look at different technology stacks, you go out to the market, you get pricing. Well, then they're getting phone calls from 5 different vendors asking, hey, when is this going to get done? What does that look like? And they want to try to meeting them to death. That's a lot of the stuff that we take off the plate. So all that communication will flow through us, and then we disseminate that back to our client in a way that's a little bit more organized so that they have that evaluation of the different providers stacked ranked against each other. What are the pros and what are the cons? And help them go through that process with an added resource as opposed to just being on an island and then having to make those decisions on their own.
That's wonderful. So natural pivot to that, what you're saying. So, and how it takes a lot of research to nail down the right gap fit, right? From where you're standing and doing right by the customer. I imagine that AI is playing a huge role in helping you guys find those gap fits, do deep research, line those with one-to-one with what the customer is expecting in terms of features, cost per license, cost per seat, whether there's an on-prem component, there's an onboarding piece, all those intrinsic items that go into determining what's the best way forward, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've absolutely leaned heavily into artificial intelligence from that perspective and helping. It's something that we've always done. It just now we're able to automate that process and turn those resources out much more quickly. Where before I would call our head of marketing and say, Claire, I need you to make this presentation pretty. I've got these three vendors, and I put together a rough draft for her, and then she would make it look like a professional did it instead of me, right? But now with the advent of what we're seeing today is like I can actually go in, build the correct prompts, compare these vendors against each other. And a lot of it is, some of it's going to be public information that you're pulling. And I don't want to sound like, hey, yeah, this is doing the job for us, because it absolutely isn't. Because a lot of what the benefit of what we bring to our clients is just the knowledge base of dealing with some of these vendors on a day to day and month to month basis that they may or may not really know. So we'll go in and like, I had a conversation with a bank today about three different phone vendors, and I was like, hey, this vendor is going to be really great. They're going to give you free hardware. This vendor is going to be very good in how they put the whole thing together. This vendor is going to be good and competitive on price, but beware, like they're going to be a pain to deal with on hardware. So our clients actually have an understanding as we go into the engagement what they can start to expect from these providers and what the outputs are going to look like.
Sure. I think that's very critical because not only are you finding them the best option or giving them the best choices out there, but you're also playing a very key advisory role in making sure that all their gaps you're finding a fit for and putting all the cards on the table. Now, when it comes to executing the engagement, right? Let's say the
Mhm.
client has decided that they want to move forward with X, Y, or Z vendor. Do you guys typically also run point on those for that portion
Oh,
of
yeah,
the engagement?
absolutely.
Okay,
So when I look at our clients and what we provide to them, let's say it's for life, right? But it's going to be through the evaluation, procurement, implementation, and overall management. And when I say that, is like we're a consulting company. So I'm not going into their tech stack and making changes or doing anything along those lines. It's really about making sure that the providers that they've chosen delivers on what they've promised to the client. So we have different escalation paths that we're able to use to make sure that our clients are getting the benefit of bringing us to the table. And one of the things that's really nice about what we do in this area is that we actually are paid the same across the board from our providers. So there's no benefit for me for that client to pick provider C over provider A. And then the other side is, because we are paid by that provider, we provide our services to our clients for free. So we come in and we're not adding to the bottom line or doing anything along those lines. So it's really like just an added resource that's there to help you navigate the seas of making some of these decisions.
got it. So, with that being said, right, when it comes to engagement, let's say the contract gets signed, the onboarding is complete, and the managed services are turned on because the service delivery portion is over. At that point, is the customer going to reach out directly to the tech
To the
support
vendor? Yes.
to the
Yep.
vendor? Got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So our clients will contract directly with the vendor that they choose. So they have a direct relationship with that vendor, correct? But what we see a lot of times is, when you look at the buying power, like, not everybody is Amazon. So what we're able to bring to that is more of that feel of making sure that even though our client might not be the biggest organization in the world, they're still getting heard, they're still being seen by that provider, and making sure that those things get taken care of. And it's interesting because the reason the providers will jump on those things and take care of it is because they look at us as an extension of their sales team. So since we are an extension of that team, they want to make sure that they perform, because if they don't, guess what we're not going to do for them? And there you go.
Right. Well, no, that's wonderful because you've provided the customer with value on the front end, even in the pre-sale cycle, and then you made sure that they get a better level of service than somebody directly going out to that vendor and signing up. So I think it's a win-win for all parties involved.
Absolutely. And what's interesting, and we see it more times than not, is sometimes we come in, or we'll come in after the fact and just help our clients like price check what they've purchased. Because we go through this so often, is like we tend to have we have a good picture of like what the market rates are. And the client might make a change, like they might turn over their phone system every 5 to 10 years. Where I'd say right now I've got maybe like 6 different engagements going on at the same time on specifically phone systems.
Yeah. Ah, amazing. And if you're at liberty to say what kind of systems are there, such as via Cisco Teams?
Yeah, Yeah, no, absolutely. So, like in this instance, we have a number posted. So we have some clients that are evaluating Zoom, Ring Central, Nextiva, Dialpad, and we'll bring different providers to different engagements based on the client's requirements. But we'll see a lot of those teams is quite a bit. And what we see on the team side that some clients don't really take into account is utilizing another company that's going to run through Teams, right?
Sure.
So it's a solution
Yes.
named Operator Connect.
Yep.
And the reason people use it is because, let's be honest, Microsoft is not a voice company. Microsoft is a software
Right.
company. And if you need any type of routing, reporting, text messaging, like things, you might want to look at somebody else to help you, but you're still going to get that Teams experience, right? So
Correct.
that's part of what we're going to do with our client. Sit down, like, what do you want? And then we're going to go help you get it.
For sure. Yeah, I'm aware. There's direct routing, there's operator connect, there's bring your own carrier. There's so many ways to avoid having to get into the Microsoft calling plan ecosystem. And then there's countries that are very strict on their telephony rules. So
Boy,
when you start
let me tell
crossing
you.
borders, right?
Wait till you start dealing with companies that have locations in India and you have the know your customer
China,
rule. And oh gosh, it's
yes.
a whole myriad of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I did see in one of your logos that you have Airtel from India. So I'm guessing that you use them for connectivity for teams that are based over there. So,
Yes, we have. So I've used them a couple different times. And then, like, I've got one of my clients, the global data center provider. We've helped them with deployments in Hyderabad, Mumbai. Last year was Abu Dhabi, and
nice.
some pretty wild places when you get into it, and you learn a lot about different cultures. And I can't remember which one it was, but one of them's like, "Oh yeah, Brian, we're not going to be working for the next 2 months." And I'm like, "What do you mean you're not going to work for the next 2 months, guys? Like these guys got to be deployed in this." And like, "Okay, we got to get it done now because." And I'm like, "Didn't know that was a thing. You could take 2 months off work, but apparently in some countries it's okay."
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So that brings me to a very interesting question with regards to major shifts and trends, right? As
Yeah.
far as the IT advisory and tech consulting market goes, right? There's so many, it's an ever evolving marketplace. So, what major shifts or trends are you seeing, and how are they impacting Magetics? Helps clients make decisions across cloud, telecom, data center, security, et cetera.
Yes, I think really what we're looking at from a trend perspective in the industry today, the industry's been around, call it like maybe 30-ish some odd years as we look at from the consulting side of the house, right? And historically, the industry was known as, hey, I'm going to go sell you internet circuits to maybe some PRIs or SIP trunks. And that was like the extent of it. Today,
Hmm.
that evolution has really changed. And I think for you to be proficient in what we do and be able to help your clients, you have to be diverse and understand how to learn these different technology stacks to be able to talk to them about it and understand like what are their concerns, what are they trying to achieve. And it's not about I sell internet, I sell just this. It's really how can I help you solve a problem? And it could be around software development, cybersecurity. We had one yesterday was like, guys, I just need some Fortinet firewalls. Yeah, no problem. We can help you do that. But I think the advisory firms that are evolving and learning and growing with the markets are going to be the ones you might see a little bit more success from. And the ones that say, hey, I'm just going to do this and I don't need to learn about cloud infrastructure or whatever that might look like. Those are ones that are get left by the side of the road, unfortunately, because people like us that are ever evolving are going to find our ways to their clients, and their clients are going to go, oh my gosh, I didn't know you could do that. Yeah, help me do that. And hopefully we're going to do a good job for them. And they're going to come back and say, by the way, I need you to do that. One of the other trends I've really been interesting, I wasn't always on this side of the business. So I spent the majority of my career on the other side working for different companies in technology sales over the last 20 some odd years. And what I've seen is these companies are leaning more and more towards the indirect sales channel. One is probably they can lean out some EBITDA and make better margins,
Sure.
but they're really using us as their sales arm. I don't call it degradation in talent, but you've definitely seen a change in talent from when I got into this career, however many years ago. It was like we were knocking on doors, blowing up the phones, like you're hustling to make it happen. And now when I'm working with vendors and you sit down and really talk to them about where's your lead flow come from? What does that look like? It's coming from people like us. So we're that business development arm of a lot of these organizations, getting them in front of actual deals today.
For sure. So that's really good insight. One thing I want to know a little more about is when a client, right, or a potential client is evaluating somebody that's vendor agnostic like you guys
Mhm.
versus somebody that's more traditional MSP or reseller? What goes through their head and how do you get them to your side of the court?
Yeah. Well, I think it like one is the agnostic approach, right? And we look at it as like, hey, I'm not here to change what you're doing. I'm not here to replace your team. And especially like if you want to look at it and compare us directly from a managed service provider perspective of like that's good, bad, and different. It's sort of the core business. They're gonna go, hey, we're gonna go turn the knobs, we're getting into your stack, we're gonna help you do those things. And that's not us. But what we are gonna do is like if you need that assistance, we're gonna go help you find multiple people that can accomplish that. And so where that comes in to be a little bit different is that I don't have a truck that only has certain things on it that I can sell. I can sell the market, right? And what you'll tend to see is like, hey, a managed service provider is like, hey, we're a Microsoft partner, we're gold certified. So you know, like that's what they're going to lead you towards, right? Like, hey, we want we need endpoint detection. Let's start talking about Defender. Not that that's a bad solution, but I'm more along the lines of, hey, talk to me about what you really want, and let's go help you procure that, whatever that might be. So I'd say that's one of the differences. And then the other piece is like it's about partly about relationship. COVID was definitely an interesting time for us with everybody was on Zoom and whatnot, because what I find with my team is like when we go and we sit down and we build a relationship with somebody and sit across from a table, and then they give us a chance on something that they're doing and we perform for them, then they come back to us. But those first engagements, it's a lot about trust and relationship, and they understand that, hey, we do this all the time. We're here to help.
Yeah, for sure. No, that adds a lot of in depth into the process of how that works. As far as your ideal customer goes, right? What does that look like in terms of company size, buying committee, tech priorities, et cetera?
Yeah, absolutely. So generally, when I'm talking to the team and we're looking at, hey, who we going to start targeting? I like to look at organizations, I like to call it mid-enterprise or call it whatever the heck you want, really. But organizations that are 200 to about 5,000 employees, anywhere from 200 million to a couple billion in revenues, typically where we find our best fits. Now, that being said, I've got clients that are 30,000 employees spread across 100 different countries. And then I've got clients that are two guys in a van down by the river. So, it runs the gambit of who we
Yeah.
support. And you look at like buying committees and procurement and all those things, and we absolutely work with organizations that have built that into their overall structure, and those tend to be a little bit larger. And yeah, I can't lie to you and tell you that some they're always the best people to deal with, but because they think that we're a threat to their position, and really we're not. We're just helping their IT team get the right solution to them so they can go do their job. But it's
Sure.
something that we work with, and we work alongside of them quite a bit to help them navigate those things and help sometimes even understand the technology. Procurement departments procure a lot of stuff, right? So they're not always procuring data center space or whatever like that, but we are. So we'll help them understand like, hey, an escalator on a data center contract, like, hey, buddy, like you're not getting that negotiated out no matter what kind of negotiator you are. It's an industry norm. Sometimes, I've had that come up and you're like, I'm sorry, you can try. I can bring you 50 different data center companies. Nobody's getting rid of that for you.
Yeah. No, that's interesting and makes me want to probe a little bit more. So you talked about infrastructure. I- Do you guys ever get into any of the hosting yourselves, or are you strictly staying out of the hosting piece?
Yeah, no, no. So like we're not going to host anything ourselves. At the end of the day, Magetics is a lack of a better term. We are a sales organization. When I talk to my clients, I say, hey, we are a success driven sales organization, meaning if I bring you the right solutions at the right cost and you pick it, then we're going to win, right? And if I don't, you're going to tell me to go pound sand. But I'm not the type of person that says, hey, I'm going to help you do this. Oh, and by the way, I've also got a cloud stack that's over in one of the data centers. You need to come put all your VMs with me. No, we're going to go help you find a place to go host those, or and typically those are going to be fairly well-known organizations.
Yeah. So you find them the rack space or the
Yes.
hosting
Yep.
or the colo, wherever they want to
Absolutely.
basically
Rack
set
space,
it up.
cloud infrastructure, wherever they want to go set it up. We're going to sit down and talk to them about goals and objectives and then help them figure out what's the best
Yeah.
path.
Gotcha. So when it comes to renewals for managed
Mhm.
services goes, right? Do you guys get involved in that as well? And what's your involvement beyond kind of making sure that the pricing looks good, that
Yeah.
the client is taken care of, you're taken care of, and everybody's happy?
Yeah, that's a big piece of it, right? So I like to say our clients are our clients for life, and that's part like the renewal process is a part of that. And you'll see some organizations that are fair on renewals and some that tend not to be. What we do is we go in and negotiate on behalf of our clients to make sure that they're getting the best rates, that the renewals are fair. Because if they're not, then that client's going to tell us to go take it to market and let's go look at it, right? Which is never something that you really want. I don't want to pull a client from one place to another place. But you know what? I'll tell you, I absolutely have done it. And part of the reason I've done it is because vendors sometimes don't value their clients the same way I think that we try to value our clients in terms of, hey, let's just do the right thing. And I think in sales, if you do the right thing for people, it comes back to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, because as you probably also know, sales is not about selling, it's about solving, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
I wanted to chat with you about what are Magetics' goals over the next, let's say, 1, 3, 5 years, and what's one significant challenge that, if it was solved, would result in the biggest unlock or biggest impact, whether it's growth or revenue efficiency or whatnot.
Yeah. So I'm going to take that, but I'm going to take it in reverse order,
All right.
right? So if we look at like, if we could tackle one thing in sales that would make all of our lives as salespeople the easiest, it's obvious, it's get in front of clients. If you can get down and get in front of more clients and sit down with them and, actually have a real conversation with somebody, your chances of success are greatly, greatly increased, right? So it's one of those things that, hey, if we can do that, we've solved the world's mystery of sales. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And then, so
Yeah.
from a goals perspective, our goals are to grow, right? We just brought on a new business development representative. And so it's not only to grow as an organization, but it's also to grow the people within the organization, right? So part of the reason we brought on a new business development rep this year is because the business development rep that's been with us, like she's been doing a great job. And now she's at the point where she's ready to go and start flying on her own and running her own deals and doing those things. So when I look at it from a Magetics perspective, it's absolutely about revenue growth. I mean, that's what sales is about. Like sell more, churn less. It's the easiest little stupid acronym in the world. But if you start to peel those layers of the onions back, it's how do you help your people achieve more? How do you help your people get better? And I think when you do that, one is your organization thrives because most people want to work for people that actually care about them. And two, you're going to do better overall from a revenue perspective because you are growing that overall base.
Sure. While we're talking about growth, right? How have y'all been able to use AI, whether it's automation of research, outreach, writing proposals?
So right now, all the above, right? So we definitely have leaned in on that side, automation of outreach. And I wouldn't say it's total automation of outreach because what we have seen from a total automation perspective is not quite what we're looking for because you kind of lose a little bit of the touch, but you start automating the research on companies that helps you get to that point and find maybe those hot buttons a little bit more easily than what we did in the early 2000s when we were cruising the internet and like, well, I don't know. What do you think this guy thinks? And kind of coming up with that on your own. And now you got a little assistant over there that's helping you do that. But between that and proposals, so one of the things that, we honestly challenge with and that artificial intelligence has helped us to deliver is that we go to market, we bring multiple quotes back, right? And then we have to deliver that in a distinct way to our clients so they can compare and contrast. Well, the providers aren't doing that for us. So we're utilizing AI to build some of those proposals together and then also to build those presentations and do those things. And you can do it so much more quickly. Where before I would sit up and be up late at night working on a PowerPoint. And I'm the most creative person in the world, so obviously the graphics were great. Where now I can outsource a little bit of that, have graphics that look professional, and deliver it in a way for my clients that makes sense in a quarter of the time. Like, yeah, because then that leaves me time, one, personal time, two, to go do other stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's a small trade off in price for something way bigger, which is efficiency and repeatability. I was joking the other day with somebody that all this time, right? And especially during COVID, we all bought into a lot of subscriptions that were there to take our time away from us. And now we've got to start thinking about AI as a subscription that actually puts time back in our clocks, back in our days.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's the big piece of it. I mean, we could get into a whole philosophical, whatever you want to say, discussion about the importance and good, bad, and different. But if you're looking at it purely from a mechanical perspective of how does it help you become more efficient, If you're using it, you're becoming more efficient. If you're not using it, you're doing it the old way, which, hey, the old way is okay, but it's going to take you twice as long to do some of the things that we're doing in a quarter of the time.
Yep. Absolutely. Moving into more of something that is a lot more important to you, metrics, right? What metrics are most critical for you to track to understand the health and growth at Magetics? And are there any areas you feel like you lack clear visibility or actionable insights?
Yeah, I'd say from a visibility perspective, we've invested in CRMs. We look at these things on a regular basis, but I maybe have like a simple approach to metrics that some people might go, oh, Brian, you're crazy or whatever. But I look at it from the top down, right? Hey, and I try not to be a micromanager because God knows I've had them in my career, in my life, and it's never a fun thing.
Yep.
But it's more like, hey, how many meetings are you running on a weekly basis? And of those meetings, how many of them are actual potential funnel getting built into? And of the funnel, what part of that funnel is converting to deals? And start to understand the numbers behind that. And I could say, is because then it helps you also change your delivery and what you're doing and how you deliver it, right? So I've seen like early on when COVID was still kind of a ish thing, we'll call it. It was Zoom meetings and this and that. And granted, we were maybe selling and talking to people in other parts of the country. But what I can tell you with 100% certainty is like, if I take that meeting and I turn that into a real person to person meeting, my success rate goes up by about 40 to 50%. Right. And then I'm building real actionable funnel because of that. And then that funnel has a better chance of actually turning into revenue at the end of the day. I mean, there's still all the myriad of things that we're doing. Like we're big into utilizing Medic to understand how to disqualify deals and do those types of things. And I know it's a qualification tool, but I like to call it a disqualification tool because I go to look at the team of like, why is this not going to happen today? And hope that they, okay, well, Brian, it's not going to happen because of X, Y, and Z. Okay, well, now let's go solve that puzzle. And if we can solve it, then hopefully it's going to happen. Or we understand, hey, this is not a good deal. Like, this is not the deal for us. We need to figure out a different deal to go work on because, good, bad, and different, like sales is an emotional job. And not everybody can handle the emotions of winning, losing on such a regular basis and the rejection and all the fun stuff that goes with it. And so you have to utilize those tools and metrics to help people a lot of times understand the reality of the situation as opposed to the hope of that situation.
Very true. While we're on that subject, when you look at your client acquisition strategies, right, what's working really well in terms of reaching the right leaders, the finance execs, the ops teams, and where do you feel there's untapped potential?
Well, I mean, the untapped potentials, I think it's coming from artificial intelligence and figuring out like, hey, how do you use this more efficiently to gain, I don't want to say leverage is definitely the wrong insight, to gain insight into organizations more quickly, right? But when you look at that, I'm maybe a little different. And then I think there's not one right way to communicate with people. You have to hit multiple levels of communication in order to find somebody to make sure that you're not missing out on some of those people where you have, there are certain people like, hey, I'm gonna hit the phones, I'm gonna hit the phones hard. I do that every day from this time to this time, and that's how I do it. I think that yeah, you gotta get on the phones. You gotta use LinkedIn. Even though email is dead, I still advise the team, hey, it's okay to send some emails here and there. If that's your overall strategy, like you're probably losing, but you still need to do it because it becomes a with clients in today's environment and how noisy the environment is about recognition and then how long you've been there, like clients appreciate the fact that our team has been with us for years, years on years, as opposed to 18 months. And so when you're prospecting somebody, you've been prospecting them for like a year, they come back and they're like, wait a second, Chelsea's been working on trying to get me to go to lunch with her for over a year. I guess she's not going to went away. Maybe I should go ahead and do that.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes persistence definitely pays, right?
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about do the LinkedIn, do the email. If you're going to have to do a little bit of that because that's what people are communicate on. If we put this into the large picture, when you consider your team's current workload and operational efficiency, right? Are there
Mhm.
any repetitive tasks or follow-up processes, sequences, et cetera, that consume a significant amount of time but don't directly contribute to revenue growth?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, we've talked about it a little bit on it is like we're there to support our clients. And so it's not like your typical salesperson, like they're selling their widget. right? They're selling their widget, and guess what? Support's not my problem. That's Bob's problem. But for us, it's the relationship and it's our problem. So we absolutely invest significant time in follow-ups and dealing with different issues that are not, I'd say, like not directly revenue related. But at the end of the day, we're supporting the people that provide the revenue. So it all kind of comes back to revenue. And if we support those people the way they need to be supported, they're probably going to come back to us for other projects because they know that we're going to be there.
Yeah. Is there a lot of time spent in curating, crafting email messages, LinkedIn messages, follow up sequences that the team does today manually on an account to account basis?
Well, see, and that's where things have started to change over the last year, right? Like originally, yeah, it was very much a manual process to do all those things. And it was funny, I was with one of the representatives on our team. I was actually having this conversation with her yesterday, and she was like, yeah, I used to sit there and look at an email and rewrite it like 3 times because I thought it would sound better. And
Yep.
now I can go and utilize artificial intelligence to write that with the caveat of I'm going to go back and then I'm going to edit that. But it gets the structure so close that your editing and your thought process that goes into it becomes quite a bit less because
Yeah.
instead of you going 100% of the way, you're maybe going like 80% of the way in terms of like getting that finished product out there.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go to a fun one, right? If you could wave a magic wand and instantly solve one problem within the Rev engine, whether it's lead flow, appointment setting, nurture, content, or follow up, what would it be and why?
Appointment setting, like setting meetings, because everything flows from that. Like the more people you meet, the more funnel you build. I mean, that's an easy one, right? Especially for what we do and how we do it. It's, hey, how can I get in front of more people? The more people, the more deals, the more deals, the more better.
Yeah. Book meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the best metric, right?
To me, it is, and it's funny because it actually flowed through and throughout my career from the early 2000s and until today. I know my team sometimes are like, "Geez, that's all Brian cares about." But at the end of the day, I know that's what it takes in order. Like, yeah, you're going to work referrals, you're going to work existing clients, you're going to find those deals. But if you're not bringing in new blood, at some point, you're going to die on a vine.
Absolutely. As we wrap up, right? Beyond the day to day, what's the long term vision for Magetics and what strategic partnerships or resources do you believe will be essential to realize this vision?
Yeah, I'd say when we look at the long-term vision for the organization, it's obviously about growth because we are a sales organization and that's where we'd like to go. And I think it's about one is growth from a revenue perspective, but also potentially like the geographic perspective as we continue to grow revenue, potentially add to the team, become a little bit larger sales organization that's out in the market, hopefully achieving great things. But that's what I could see from a long-term goal and slowly driving there. That's what I look at.
Perfect. Well, is there anything you would like to convey through our podcast to those that might be listening that may not know that, hey, there are people out there, there's companies like yours out there that can help them be
Oh,
vendor
yeah.
agnostic and do the gap fit legwork to get them the best solution?
Yeah, I would say if there's anyone out there, you're looking at it and you've gone through the struggle of procuring technology and you no longer want to sit on an island and make decisions by yourself or task your team with going to the internet and Googling people and you want people that have real life experience in doing this and pretty pretty long experience at that, like yeah, absolutely reach out to us. We'd love to support you in that endeavor. And like I said in the beginning, the great thing is like don't cost nothing. So it's an added resource to your team that you can use at your leisure without adding to the bottom line. Where most things in the industry today is like, if you're going to get something that's great, it's going to cost you something. But I look at us as just a benefit, so it's a pretty high reward, low risk scenario.
Absolutely. And for those of you that want to reach out to Magetics or Brian, we'll be throwing in the links in the description of the video. So definitely check that out and hit them up if you're in the boat where you can't decide which solution is best for you, or if you've got something that you're not happy with and you're looking for a replacement, or any of these tech related decision making issues, paralysis, hit them up.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Ian.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much, Brian, for making time to be on the show and just give us valuable insights from a very agnostic perspective in a way that can have people start thinking outside the box and not think that they're tied to a technology when there's so many options out there.
No, I really appreciate you having me. It was great chatting.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, thanks.
Thanks, Brian.